Hey, it is your buddy Peace and Harmony with you here today. We're zooming in and focusing in on a really crucial topic that it comes to healing through narcissistic or psychopathic abuse, and that is really learning how to think for yourself. And before we get started, I want to give a huge shout out to those of you who have recently donated to the channel. We have two lovely ladies who recently donated, and I'm not sure their location, and we have a lovely gentleman who also donated. Thank you so much for your contribution. It's such an honor and a privilege to be able to assist you in your growth, your healing journey from some very painful and very confusing relationships, and to be able to provide a resource and tools to that goal and objective for yourself. So thank you so much. And those of you, yes, if you want to make a donation to the channel, please do feel free. There is a PayPal donate now button here on the channel where you can make a anonymous contribution through PayPal. And thank you so much, because it keeps me inspired to keep the content flowing and provide this service for you. So thank you so much once again. And I really want to get started here on a very important concept in tool to the recovery, which is really becoming whole, which is becoming individuated, which is becoming autonomous and self-governing, basically recovering the original you state. Oftentimes, people have not experienced this either ever in their life, or they have had a injury to this experience of their humanhood, their personality, their identity in life. And that is really the feeling of being whole, individuated, autonomous, and then industrious, and kind of moving along through the human development stages on that track. So if you liken, your development to like a map, if you start out at A, you can go to B here, you can go to B here, which leads to C here, C there. I mean, all your different choices lead you to a different destination, and your life can have a whole different outcome depending on your choices, and especially as it depends on the seat of your I am. Basically, and entering into the quantum field of that wholeness and that individuation, especially as it is interpreted or reflected as a positive or a negative. And if we look at injury or, crippling hurt, emotional abuse, psychological abuse, neglect, physical abuse, neglect, and its impact on life at those levels, on all levels, the spiritual, the psychological, the emotional, the physical, and the cognitive, which is really your thought process. Your thoughts are called cognitions, which enable you to make choices, have internal self-talk, talk about the world, and then your intellectual ability, and then as it combines with your emotions, which are your feelings, the language of the body, and then the heart space, which is your feeling center, which is oftentimes feeling which drives your emotions, and that which you have a passion for, or really sort of a real fire for, a spark for, a love for, in which you become inextricably attached to and don't burn out from. So that is your passion. And oftentimes living in that heart space or having erroneous cognitions can be negatively or adversely affected if you have been in a relationship with a narcissist or a psychopath, a covert narcissist, which is more underhanded abuse, basically meaning resulting in the negative validation or invalidation of those at that level. So of the heart space, of the I am, and negatively impacting that, and then the ability to think and feel for yourself in a positive, productive, industrious space. So being fueled by sort of that strength, and then the positive valuation, which means I am, and I matter, and I am magnificent, and I am important, not, overly important, not, like the narcissist who is plagued by excessive self-importance to the detriment of empathy, which means they don't have a feeling or ability to really connect or value the feelings, needs, wishes of another. So, oftentimes people have been deprived or emotionally starved of that. So they haven't had the mirror reflection back. Oh, so you're going to school today. Oh, so you like chocolate. Oh, so you like plants. Oh, so you like bike riding. Oh, so how was your day today? There is oftentimes a disconnect from that cycle of being able to reflect back through the mirror neurons, which is really how empathy is developed. Within the human mind, there are the mirror neurons, which basically allow you to see and sense how someone is feeling and be able to acknowledge that. It's very much it's an intangible. So, for example, you can see, if someone's happy, you can see the smile, you can see them walking along, you can see them light up. That's the visual sense. But happiness is a feeling. Just like sadness is a feeling. We can see images of it, but there is also an energetic field which correlates to that. And so oftentimes in a relationship with a narcissist or a psychopath, an individual who is not operating out of that field of empathy, in other words, they don't have the ability to reflect back yourself, your truth, and validate you, value you there, and then so that is engendered or enacted within. So without that validation, oftentimes that tends to wither away or begins to place what we call the seat of self-doubt or low self-esteem or devaluation within the self. And then the individual does not embrace that. Instead, they embrace shame. They embrace inferiority. They embrace embarrassment. And then they embrace the opposite of that. So they don't become self-valuing. They don't develop confidence. They don't begin to develop an experience of themselves in the positive, and then the industrious, moving through those stages, and then feeling productive, having productive relationships, having productive professional pursuits, being able to make their own money, have positive feelings, relationships, family, and feeling that they can then give to others, and then give back to others. So the cognitive, if we look at the cognitive disconnect, in other words, if you're not reflected back on those, so then your thoughts, then, your feelings begin to become dejected, sad, disappointed, negated, and then you begin your self-limiting beliefs. I cannot, I am not. And then so you begin to feel that way, and then your cognitions, of course, follow suit. And then your cognitions, your thoughts begin to develop, I am not good enough, I'm not lovable, I'm not wonderful, I'm not smart, I'm not going to go for that school, I'm not going to go for that training, I'm not going to go for that relationship, I'm not going to go for that workshop, I'm not going to go for that fishing trip, I'm not going to. And then, then you begin to kind of like shut it down. And and that's different from PTSD. PTSD is, and complex is, resultant from a trauma. So it can be very intertwined, in those, scenarios. I mean, it's, usually a direct trauma, and chronic and ongoing trauma, which is going to, create those disabling states. But if you look at now, the cause of those disjointed, fragmented, thoughts, because they have not been reflected back, they have not been enlivened or activated within you. You have not surrounded yourself with people who are then able to evaluate you there in the spiritual, emotional, or physical sense on all layers. So then, you might say, well, my thoughts aren't strong enough. My feelings aren't strong enough. So that's where we need to meet you at. And that is where we need to pick up. And so your thoughts begin, as I state with the very beginning, I am. So in the I am, you need to get that individuation sense and then have a boundary basically of that, and then own that, and then feel that, and begin that very process in a very relaxed body, and begin to own that consciousness from that space, and then begin on the positive affirmations, astramations as I call them, and coining them, because when you begin to do that, it sends a message out into the universe. It sends a message out into the quantum field, which is basically, what they call the law of providence, or, you talk about, providence, basically God, however you want to name it. It's that higher power which is then embracing you or there to lift you up, and then here to pick you up on your journey and bring those experiences to you, which you are then envisioning or desiring for yourself. So in other words, the road rises to meet you. I think there's an English poem or prayer that is like that. So, and so when we talk about the cognition, so that's where we really want to begin to focus and become attended to. Look at your self-talk. Begin to correct and reroute those. So if you're, subconsciously, I'm stressed, begin to pay attention and to say, really, and begin to say, I am relaxed. I am relaxed. I am focused. And begin to reinforce your thoughts, and then work to strengthen your cognitions, and begin to really work and repeat, especially if you're just coming out of the abusive relationship, or you're feeling really wounded. You really, really, really need to work on these affirmations, astramations. You might need to have flashcards. I highly recommend using flashcards to imprint that on the subconscious, using the using images to reinforce the subconscious. Images are pictures, so you need to reinforce yourself with pictures, so it gives you the feeling, so you can gaze upon it and then begin to feel those feelings. Having a mentor, having an individual who exemplifies the very feelings and states with which you admire. It can be an emotional state, a moral state, a physical state. For example, if you are trying to strengthen your legs, you might, admire the physique or stamina or determination and commitment of a ballerina, male or female. I mean, they are picture-perfect examples of someone who has been able to embody very strict discipline, adherence, focus, physical training, mental training, spiritual training in the state of grace. So you can then, look at, some other individuals, perhaps, so you need to then, of course, identify. I highly recommend in the recovery journal, knowing who your mentor is, and having a mentor, knowing who it is, identifying that. Have pictures, books, clip outs, video of, so you can have a mentor, so you can model yourself and help strengthen your thoughts. Begin to realize that oftentimes you admire them because there are very qualities in them which are latent or undeveloped within yourself. So when you surround yourself with a mentor, you are then surrounding yourself with someone who exemplifies at a higher level, a more developed level, a more disciplined level, that which you have within yourself. So you might see an expert fisherman, expert golfer, a horseback rider, painter, dancer, musician, professional, business owner who has, developed and refined, and it's a little higher level than that with which you are at right now. So if you surround yourself with that, you will not only begin to absorb that energy, but you will begin to study and then understand the discipline that they have developed and cultivated within themselves, and reinforcing those cognitions so that they're not so fragmented, that you're following through, like in the recovery journal, like in the emotement book and the astramations, basically reinforcing those along with your positive images. Basically, it goes to help and build and rebuild that subconscious, which then is the seat of your feeling and then your cognition. So you're then thinking new thoughts, making new choices, making new decisions, and then you're ending up at a whole different outcome for your life other than with which, if you had done nothing, you'd be so much far ahead just by enacting a few of these very simple and easy to use and apply tools. It is your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today. I hope that these videos do help. Please share and please subscribe for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support.